Mayatotkawen. Welcome everyone to the fourth in a series of workshops entitled Navigating the Waters of Indigenous Art. And this has been presented by the FirstOntario Performing Arts Centre in St. Catharines in partnership with Niagara Catholic District School Board. Sanse, Brian Kahn, Natishikashan, Niagara Falls, Nowikan, Nataniska, Wakamaka, Wak, Washkagewak, Akwamiti. Hi, my name is Brian Kahn. I live in Niagara Falls, but my ancestors, they come from the far north. They are the Moose Cree, and I am Métis. Today, before I introduce our featured artist, who is Jill Lunn, I want to take a moment and just do a traditional opening. Um, each of us has come from a different place. We've had different journeys that have brought us here today. So just to center us and bring us all together to a common area and a common mindset, this is an important way to start our meeting. So with that, we call upon the Great Spirit, the Creator, Gitchimantu. We've been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So we come together in thanksgiving and with our promise that we will take care of Mother Earth because we need her. She doesn't need us. When I look outside, I still see the blanket of green that I know is soon going to be covered in snow. But with that, though, I see the many gifts that are there from Mother Earth. And I know that there are plants, animals, and other crawling things that live below her and that are part of her that help prepare the soil for all who live above. And many of them are getting ready for their winter rest and will resurface again in the spring. So we look forward to that and we wish them a safe journey through the winter. When I look above the ground, I see the plants. Many of them have been harvested already, as well as the medicines. They nourish our bodies and heal our bodies. And I am told that when you harvest a plant or an animal, that you shouldn't take the first one that you see. You shouldn't even take the second. It's not until you find the third that when you know it's safe for you to harvest that plant or that animal, because there will be more for those who follow after you, whether it be the next day or future generations to come. And so we're grateful to them. I look to the tree nation who stands tall, and the leaves have left again in preparation for that winter's sleep. And so we are grateful to them because the tree nation provides us with the materials to make our homes, the materials to make our fires, to stay warm and cook our food. And they are the flames of our ceremonies that connect us with the Creator. The trees are also home to the many creatures that feed us and create the materials for our clothes and for our tools. So we are grateful to the two-legged, the four-legged, the flyers, the swimmers, the crawlers. When I am told that when a hunter goes out to harvest, that it is the animal who chooses the hunter doesn't choose the animal. And that's because the animals know their place and that they are a gift from the Creator and that they will feed us and clothe us and help us every day. So for them, we are grateful. I acknowledge the winds because the winds are the ones that bring the change of season and can bring us rain. And I acknowledge the four directions, the north, the south, the east, and the west. And like the directions, we acknowledge the life cycle of all things gifted to us by Mother Earth. Surrounding us on this land is the gift of water, and we are grateful that it is there in an abundance to refresh our bodies. The water also gives us our transportation. But most of all, we are grateful to the water because it is through water we are all born. When I look to the sky, I see Grandmother Moon, and at times we can see her in her full glory. Grandmother Moon and the waters give us the gift of new life and future generations because it is Grandmother Moon who decides when our young are born. I look to the sky and I see our brother, the sun, and where I'm sitting today, he's hiding, he's behind the clouds, but he is there and he is shining bright and he provides us with light and warmth to us as well as to all the plants and to the animals. And so we are grateful to him. And when I look to the night sky, I see the stars, and I am told that each star is an ancestor and that they are there to watch over us and to guide us and to make sure that we are keeping our promise to Kichimantu, that we will take care of Mother Earth because we need her. She doesn't need us. With that, I say hi. Thank you. So today, our featured artist is Jill Lunn. I'm a bit of a fan of hers, and she did run a public workshop last evening, and so I'm looking forward to her presentation today. Jill was born in the Niagara area. She's a mother of three girls, ranging in age from school age to post-university. She herself has been educated in special needs education and recreation management. Jill has mostly been home instructed in the many art mediums, and that was done by her mother, the late Audrey Bernice Shimizu. Jill paints about a range of subjects, including Indigenous trauma, Aboriginal issues, and healing. Her favorite medium is acrylic paint on canvas, and she's going to be talking about that today. But she'll alternate with other mediums, including sculpture, multimedia collage, as photography as well. And again, we'll see some of her photography throughout her presentation. Several of Jill's original pieces hang in agencies and businesses throughout the Niagara region, including St. Catharines General Hospital, Fastone Mental Health, Contact Niagara, Fort Erie Native Friendship Center, just to name a few. And many of her paintings are actually in private collections throughout the Niagara region. Jill and her husband reside with her family in Jordan Station here in Ontario. They work together from their home, and they often paint and compose together, which I think is a very special treat. And they're passing that on to the children. And I do believe one of Jill's daughters is actually going to be joining her in her studio today. So before I bring Jill on, though, just a couple of housekeeping things. Again, thank you to the FirstOntario Performing Arts Centre for providing us with this opportunity to bring an Indigenous voice out to the community. Jill will provide some teachings and instructions about her style of art. And while she's speaking, feel free, there's a chat section in the window of how you're watching us. So anytime throughout the presentation, feel free to write out your questions. Jill won't see them, but I'll be watching them and I'll collect them. And about 50 minutes into the presentation, we'll stop and I'll go through some of the questions that you've put forward. When the session is finished, the classes are encouraged, your teachers or yourselves as you're studying at home, to take the inspiration of what you learned from Jill today. And while she may be talking about canvas and acrylic paints, if you don't have access to that, but you have access to crayons or felt markers or pencils or watercolors, feel free to use any medium that is comfortable for you. Our hope is that you will take the inspiration of Jill's art, her art form, her passion, and that you'll apply that to a piece of art that you will create. The Performing Arts Centre is hoping that then you will take a photograph of your finished piece and send it to them so that they can include it in a virtual gallery that will be made available online. Just to let everyone know that this is a live presentation at this moment. So this is Wednesday at 1 p.m. on November 17th. The stream will be available for a 2-week period afterwards. So if you want to watch it again, or if you are watching it after the fact, just know that the questions were from today's session. So with that, I am very pleased and very honored to bring forward Jill Lunn, who is the featured artist for our session today. Jill?
Hi, we're having a little bit of technical. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, good. All right, good. So I'm Jill and I have my family with me. This is Molly and Ryan. So Molly is a student in the Catholic School Board, and today we have a PD day. So she's home, and my husband Ryan, so he is a musician. He writes music, and together we have this art company. So I'm just going to go through. So my name is Jill. I go by Jill Lunn. I am a member of the Ojibwe Eagle Clan, and my spirit name is Ginikwe. While we're talking, my family's going to be painting some things for you. Hopefully we're going to use some of the techniques that I'm going to teach you. And they're going to paint about water, which is what we're hoping you're also going to do. So you guys can go ahead and start that with whatever you want. I'm just curious, is how many people consider themselves good? You draw really well, okay? And is there people that feel that they don't draw very well? Because that's me. I really can't draw pictures. You know, some people can sit down and they draw something and it turns out to look exactly like the person that they're drawing, and that's not my strength. But I do a lot of painting, and I have some tricks of how I do my work, and I'm going to share that with you. So can we go to the intro slides, please?
there.
Okay, so this is my art studio. I took this picture at night, and you can see all the drawers and different things that I use. And what I wanted to talk about in this is that I use both easels, but I do a lot of work on the floor because my paintings are quite large, that I do a lot. I just put it down, and it helps when paint's drying. It can dry exactly into some of the cracks we're going to talk about. This is the symbol for my mother's memorial foundation. My mother passed away and she was an artist. And this memorial fund helps women and girls get exposure with their art. Next. This is the brochure for, we have a presentation where Ryan plays rock music with the band or on his own. And I have a slide presentation and the two of us share our stories. Next slide. It's more of the brochure. So this is an example of some of my work. I made this, it's a dandelion, and I made it for my agent at our agency, Dandelions of Courage. Next slide. Okay, so this is where we're gonna start. This is a really small, one of the smallest paintings that I've ever really done. And you can see the cracks and how things are blended. And I'm gonna show you how to do that today. Okay, next slide. This is my biological mother. So I wasn't raised with the parents who gave birth to me. And this was my biological mother. I met her when I was 18. When I was really young, I was moved from my home during a period of time called the 60s scoop. And that happened after the residential school period of time. And I didn't know my mother, but when I did meet her, she was a pastor, and she was a gospel singer and a faith healer. Next slide. This is me and my sister. My sister is one of my best friends. And yeah, next slide. So my sister and I were raised together. So we have the same biological mother. And we were raised by this gentleman. And he is a doctor and a professor at McMaster Medical School, but he's now retired. He's almost 100 years old, and I look after him now. Next slide. And this is his wife. So she's passed away. I did tell you a little bit about her foundation, but when I was little, she taught me how to paint and how to draw, and I was learning those techniques from her. So as we're going through things, if you have questions, just write them down, and I'll really help you out with the answer as best I can. But most of the things that I learned was from my mother. Back in the day, grades used to go up to grade 13. So I took art until grade 13. That's me and my sister when we were really, really small. And yeah. Anyways, next slide. And this was her art. So my mother could draw very, very well. She could draw anything. She could paint anything right from her head. And she was very fortunate. Next slide. And that's me and Ryan. So my husband, Ryan, he writes music, and we produce music. He has records out on Spotify. We have videos on YouTube, and you can look them up if you want to hear some of the music, because you might, when we get further into the presentation, you might want to check it out. So this is Ryan helping me out in one of our studios downstairs. You can see his guitar in his hand, and he's pointing at one of the pieces. And the reason why he's doing that is because when we're working together in an art room, he'll play the guitar or write music, and I will paint, or we'll paint together, or we'll just work on music together. So that's our job. Next slide. And this is another view of the art room with the painting on the ground. This is a painting of what is going to be, we'll see it later on, and it's finished. This was when I was working on it. And yeah, next slide. This is a really big painting, and the reason why I have that photo there for you is so that you can kind of get an idea of how really big the paintings are. And I don't do big paintings because I want to make a big impression. I do paintings like that big because I really don't see very well, and I don't like to wear glasses. They bother my face and I can't think with them on. So I just paint really, really big. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. That might be it. Okay, can you come back to me? Great. Okay, so today we're going to focus on our subject, which is water. We're going to talk about how anyone can work on what's going on inside in your heart, and you can heal your heart, heal your hurts by using prayer and meditation, music, and painting. And we're going to talk about some techniques. So let's just see what they're doing. Hold on. Can you show us where you're at?
Oh, I just
bring it on over. Okay. So Molly is going to show us one of the techniques that she's working on, and this is there's some tape here. Can you bring over the tape, right? And this is like, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody paint a bedroom or anything. They use this tape, and it's, here you go. That's a really good start. Really good start. So this tape, masking tape, the specific kind, when you pull it off, it doesn't pull apart your painting. Let's see what Ryan's doing. You want to bring yours over?
okay. While it's drying, all I did was I taped my edges because I'm going to create some sort of edge tapestry with musical notes at some point. And I'm just laying a white base so far, and I'm going to use a mixture of blues and this cool wave stencil.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start creating waves up from the ground, and then I'm going to work on some sky and possibly a ship sail mixed into there if I don't get carried away with birds and a sun.
Okay. So we'll see how that progresses. So they talked to you about stencils. I'm going to show you a couple. Some of the stencils I use are really, really small. They're like this. Or the big ones that Ryan was showing you. We talked about the tape.
Show them all like how Mommy has them and all these.
Yeah, this is a small amount. I have actually files full of them. Sorry, what were you going to say?
You got a lot of them.
Thanks.
That's it.
Thanks. So another thing that I use a lot in my work is crackle medium. And what that is it looks like a really thick paste. And when it dries, it cracks. And it's white. It looks like this. Sorry, I don't know if that, there we go. It looks like this. And it comes, hold on. It comes in a great big thing like that. And most people don't buy it this way. I just use so much of it that I buy it in a great big tube. And I use, this is a different crackle medium. It comes in this. And when it dries, it looks a lot smaller. It looks like that. So that's the crackle medium that I use. And then my other big thing we're going to talk about is layers. So when I'm layering work, I have to seal it so it doesn't because it's kind of chalky, the medium, that I have to make sure that I seal it. And so I use this paint. this is all should be in the comments, so you know where to buy it and what its name is. This is the pickling, and it's kind of, I'll show you. It's like you can really not see too well in it, but it's actually a really thin kind of paint, and when it dries, it's waterproof, which is really great. That's another thing. All right, so can we go to the swan picture? We're just gonna wait. It's probably further down in the presentation, the swan.
The swan.
The swan slide.
Ooh. Oh, your swan painting?
Okay, that's okay. We'll just go to co-pilots because that's like the easiest thing. We'll just start there.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Woohoo! There we go. Okay,
I'll use one.
so this is a painting. Like I was telling you that my husband is a musician. So this is an album cover. And when you look at albums, you don't really think about like where the artwork actually comes from. And let's have a look at the next slide. Oh, that's me. So when I'm putting together artwork, it takes a lot of kind of research sometimes. And in making his first album cover, I wanted to make sure his face was on it, and then we had some ideas. So we kind of put them all up on the wall. That was before everything changed. And I was just putting different ideas together, pinning them, and thinking. Next slide. So up close, that's what it looked like. You can see the sketches of the medicine wheels in there and all the thoughts and how we were going to put it together. And he's an actor too. So a lot of those are like the headshots. So when you go for an audition as an actor, you take a picture of yourself with your resume on the back. And those are some of the photos. Next slide. So this was, we were doing a meeting with a friend of ours, and I just kind of snapped a picture. And it's funny, out of all those pictures on the wall, we ended up going with the shot that I took with my phone. And he's just tuning an instrument because I wanted to play it and play along. So when you look at the album cover, you may not have known that the picture is really big. It's actually quite huge. This is the background before I took that photograph, cut it out, and pasted it on. So there's the seasons, like a medicine wheel. So at the top in the red, that's the fall. You can see the snow in the winter, and the spring has some things growing out of it, and then the summer is like a really happy thing. Next slide. And that's what it looked like as a painting when it was completed. So if you look actually where the yellow is, you can kind of see like the skin of his head. So it was, when I printed it, it was about that big, and I cut it out and I pasted it on, and then I did some painting, and then we used some stencils. You can see some of the branches down in the blue part, and the flower also, that's a stencil, because like I said, I don't really draw I don't have a lot of confidence in my drawing, but I can put things together. And really, I don't know if I might be kind of young for that, but if you can do makeup, you really can paint. It's really that simple. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to make it easier for yourself. Next slide. Okay. Can we go to photography? How's it going back there?
It's going good. starting to make waves, and
I'm doing something over here.
I imagine the kiddies want to see you
Yeah.
jump on there and I bet more than the kids, Brian wants to see you do something.
Okay, so photography. So I have a business where I take a lot of pictures, and I take pictures of people on their own or at rock concerts. This is a picture of Ryan performing at a concert. It's black and white. It's how you light things up or where you pick things. Next slide. This is, I think he is reading over a script. I think that's what this picture's from on stage. And this is a picture that I took of some of my friends at a protest. And it's just a kind of a snapshot. Next. This is my friend's band. This is actually my favorite band, Newport Electric. You can look them up. They're on all platforms too, but they're absolutely fantastic. But just sure. Next slide. In St. Catharines, so kind of where we're from, there's different murals downtown, and I just saw that. My daughter stand with it. But when I know that a lot of you are used to using filters, you can use those filters and create art. Next slide. So what's important to me is taking pictures of things that you see every day. So just happen to be a birthday cake. I take pictures of maybe leaves, or I just kind of collect these things because perhaps later I'll use that in some artwork. And this is a picture that I just snapped out of the car at night using my cell phone. I know most people have cell phones now. You don't have to have all that really expensive equipment. Not everybody uses that. This is a picture of my friend. He's I think a roots rock singer, but he has a band, and they were performing at one of our, can you go back? We were performing at one of our events, and I was doing photographs of each artist. But I was doing a series about, I found it really interesting how artists use their hands, how musicians, and how it's really kind of amazing how they can manipulate their hands and do these difficult things. So I was just trying to document that. Okay, next slide. This is the bass player. He's a good friend of mine from Newport Electric. Next slide. Okay, so when I'm using photography, I make both art, but I also make like concert advertisements. I make posters for events, and so that's how I use these photographs. So it's just a collage, but how I made them blend together was in using manipulating the colors and the filters, and later on I'll superimpose I'll just add on the letters. Okay, next slide. A snapshot at home again. Sometimes, like when you're just taking pictures with your phone, you can get some of the best images of people because they're not expecting it. They're not, posing. You get those natural looks, those natural faces, and later on you can use that, on your, your social media profile or in your artwork. Next slide. So we have different production things that we do, and we really like to take our little ones to work with us, and that's just Molly and Ryan working. Next slide. My friend Michelle Elise, she is a curator of Native artwork of all kinds, and it's just a snapshot of her. Next slide. Okay, so let's see how the artwork is coming along. Are you ready? Okay, bring it on over, Mom.
What I'll do?
There we go. So that's how, you want to talk about that at all?
Well, I did a boat.
Mm-hmm. That's coming along really nicely. I guess we'll see what you do next. And Ryan, you want to bring yours up? We'll have a look.
Yeah. It's still forming. It's still forming.
Come on up, because I can't really see
You
it
can't
there.
see it yet. It's still forming.
Ooh.
I'm creating a water. It's
Okay.
it's a crashing wave, and it's abstract so far.
I really like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like where that's going.
Now I'm gonna add the music because everything that when it comes to me, can I add this? Because when art for me is sound, images. It's sound and it's images, and it's like a landscape for me. I create like movies in my head. So this is like this crash, and there's like music and everything going on. So
Okay.
so there'll be a soundtrack to this painting as well.
Okay.
All
Can
right.
we go to yeah, let's go to the trauma. Because I want to talk about water. So there's just going to bring up a set of slides. It's how I make from start to finish well, and different parts of my painting. So this is how I started. It was just kind of in the background, just something that I did, and I wasn't really sure where I was going, but sometimes I just keep painting and I don't really think about, and just like Ryan was saying, that, you know, you just kind of paint, you let things come through. This was where I was at when I started. Next slide. Really different, right? So after a while, it starts taking shape and things start happening. The top, you can see the flowers. Those are different stencils and layered on top of other stencils, and there's drippy paint. And that's one of my techniques that so you could just kind of take your, hold on. So if this was we would just put a lot of paint at the top and just let it drip down. And that's what's happening. A lot of paint dripping down. There's also stencils under there, some writing. Next slide. Okay. So as it went on, it really started looking like there was waves in her hair. And how I did that was, again, using that great big bucket I had. And then I used the bucket of crackle medium, and I kind of swished it around, and then I was using that particular sealing agent. But after you seal things, it doesn't matter how many times you go over it. You can keep painting on it. You can, but if you don't seal it, it'll just kind of fall off. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So if you can really kind of get in there and have a look. So this is an eye in particular. This eye that haunted me in my life. This was the eye of an adult that I wanted to capture in this painting. So underneath the crackle medium, I used a clear crackle medium. Underneath there was another crackle, and when it dried, it just split. And in the splitting, I put more paint. So I would just kind of, in here you can put more paint. You kind of just force it in and then wipe it off. And that's how it looks like those cracks in the eyes. Next slide. Same with her lips. There's another slide. I think the next one brings it up really closely. You can have a look at how crackles look when you layer them. And you can see there's like red and brown layers and white layers. And as I painted on top, you can kind of see that how doing these layers is actually what does the shading and takes the shape of the forms in my painting. Next slide. Yeah, there you can see some of the painting in between these grooves. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. And how you can put paint on and then just paint over top of it. And you can mix the paint in between the little valleys of your painting. And when I was working on this particular painting, I was trying to sort some things out in my life and in my mind. And I was trying to sort through what was a lot of like crashing waves in my head. I'm not sure if everybody feels that way sometimes, but when you get a little confused, I was just trying to document that in my painting. And this painting is at an agency in Niagara. It hangs there. Next slide. Yeah, again, just more. Okay. Let's have a look at the Mama Lunn file. So Mama Lunn is Ryan's mom. She is my mother-in-law. She's fantastic. And I decided to make a gift for her. And so Ryan and I started working on that. So when Ryan and I start to work together, either he'll play the guitar or I will turn up the music. And it's really, really loud. And a lot of times, I don't know if if everybody goes to church or has a place of worship, but that spiritual music will be what's playing in the background, really, really loud. So you can picture it like just a great big huge canvas, a lot of music, and then just really focused on. And there's the tape again. So when you put the tape on, it blocks out things. It creates these nice straight lines. I'm not really super great with lines. And when you peel it off, you can then layer. And there it is. So you see how there's the really straight lines, and then you kind of put the tape when the area is dry, you can put tape on top of that and then create another square underneath it. And then in this, you can also see that there's drips, that dripping technique, what I was showing you. Next slide. And again, I made that tree using the very same technique with the tape. So I kind of used a thinner tape. Oh, there's an even thinner roll somewhere. But there's different sizes of tapes. So I'll use this one around the outside of a canvas because it's really, really thick and it really blocks things off really well. And to do more round, so those parts of the tree, this would be the tape that I used. And on this photograph, you can see the ring of what looks like leaves and flowers, but it's actually, I've reused the same stencil. I'm guessing maybe 40 times over and over and over. So each time I used it, I had to let the canvas dry a bit, and then I try again. And then the little dots, those are stencils too. Oh, sorry, Molly needed that. Some more stencils. Next slide. Getting a little bit closer to completion, but you can see the thick tape all the way around, and it makes kind of a cool frame. I think one of Ryan or Molly had started doing that. Next slide. And this is when the painting is pretty close to done. It really starts looking like a tree. Next slide. And that's what it looked like when it was done. It's got some words on it. It really says don't rush things that need time to grow, and that is really painting. Take your time. It's not a rush. No one needs to finish a painting in an hour. Some of my paintings take months. Some of them take a few days, but don't ever rush. Okay. So let's see what's happening back here. Are you ready, Molly, to show us where you're at? It's okay. It's okay.
I have to stop right now. Let it dry.
Well, we'll show people how to let it dry too.
Yeah, that's good. Good, because that's what we have to do with mine right now.
Okay.
All right.
I'll hold it for you, Molly, and you can talk about it.
A couple things.
Okay.
Well,
Mol, that looks awesome.
Tell us about it, Mom.
Well, that's the top, and then if you flip it over, then I'm gonna put something right there or something.
Okay. So you've got some thoughts?
I need the fan.
That's wonderful.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about when we were talking about using some of these techniques, you really have to dry your work. And sometimes if you're a little impatient,
Like me.
why don't you show them where you're at?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you want that to dry a bit, don't you?
Yeah,
Did you spray it with water?
We did.
And you got some drips.
Big time. So we threw a compass in the midst of our wave, and I threw a sun and a moon at the top, but I haven't colored them properly or anything yet. And then I got anxious and jumped at the gun, and I should have did the water wet effect at the end, but in haste and to show your class, like, you know, I wanted to add the wet drippy effect to water into the painting, but now I can't add anything else because it's way too wet.
Well,
So
we're
now
going to use a fan. Here you go. Just plug that in, Ryan.
plug this. You're gonna hold the fan and I'll plug it in.
Put the fan on the chair, maybe. Can you do that one?
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll use fans, both on the ceiling and like we'll aim it right at the canvas.
Yeah.
But then we
Yeah.
also use these.
Yeah. Boom. And once that dries, then I can add some more. Then I'll start adding more.
Yeah. This is a heater. We use heaters also, and that helps a lot with the crackle medium.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Mo. Also, you should tell the kids, because I almost tripped over my own inkwells on the ground.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll talk about some tips about some things that
Yeah. How to mix
So-
colors.
when you're out buying some things, just try to buy the best quality that you can. I know it's hard and this is a hard time, but if you can, what I'm using is acrylic paint. It comes in a few different ways, so it can come this way. You can get this at Michael's or at the craft store or the art store. Molly uses these from the dollar store, but most of the time, all of us will use this kind of paint, and it's a little bit more expensive, but I don't have to use very much of it. And to get the result that you're looking for, it's best to use the best that you can possibly use. Take your time, don't rush any pictures, just really, you've got all the time in the world, especially since a lot of us are still at home. It kills some time. You can plan your paintings ahead of time. Again, because I don't draw very well, I can cut things out, or I can draw on my canvas kind of some forms, or I have this. And this is what's called an art projector. Sorry.
I love that.
Trying to use it backwards. There we go.
Here.
So this is, I turn the lights off, and underneath, right here, I put it on a table, and sometimes it's, again, some of those things that I took pictures of, I'll print it, and then this projects it onto the canvas. Can you hold this for a second?
Yes.
and I'll show you one that I did. So okay, you can take that out of the picture. So this is, I did from a projector. It was part of a series that I was doing about red dresses, and that has some significance to my people right now. Red dresses represent some of our women who are missing, and it brings attention. Yeah. Okay, you can put that down now, Beth. And again, for processing and letting that feelings flow and your creativity, just a lot of music. And I think what I'm hoping to bring to you is how healing and how wonderful art is to get your feelings out. And sometimes, especially now, because things are difficult, we are storing inside, that frustration. We want to go out and we're not going out. But you can paint about that. If you pray, you can pray about that. And those feelings and those things that flow out onto your artwork is that healing water. Maybe sometimes I'll cry as I'm working through something. If something's happened, made me sad, those tears will come out, and it just makes me feel so much better. When I'm done my paintings, sometimes I keep them. Very rarely, though. A lot of the time, I'm selling them or donating them, and it's given to the person that I was praying for. So can we bring up Mitch? So I can't remember the names of all my paintings, but I can remember who they went to. So we can just go really quickly through these. It just, Mitch was a friend of mine, and he was struggling at work, so I painted something for his office. And this just shows all the different layers and how paintings are formed. And this painting took probably at least a couple of months to complete. I don't paint all the time, but I do spend quite a bit of time doing that. And this one has a lot of layers and a lot of work around it. And then Ryan and I did something to make him feel better. There's some words on there. It's a quote from someone that meant something to Mitch. So let's go to the winter. So I was telling you about the album. So Ryan has we have an album that's got 14 songs in it. And each of those songs fall into a section of time. So I was showing you the fall, the winter, and this is a series of artwork that I made that go with that, that go with the music. And this is part of the winter, part of that art series. And we can move up to the next, there we go. So the character of the album, so it talks about someone healing their hurts and the different stages that they went through. So this was the period of time when that person was really suffering. And this was just some of the images that came up. But when I'm painting, sometimes I have no idea what I'm painting. I'm just painting whatever, and I'm listening to music and just kind of going with what comes out. And this were some of the things that came out in that experiment. And when I hadn't talked to the character too much about what they were going through, they actually looked at this painting and said, wow, I saw that in a dream, or I saw this this happen, and all of it was in this painting without me knowing it. It just appeared. I don't know, like magic or whatever. Next slide. Just my signature. Just sign your work. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. So Todd is, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Todd is a friend of mine. I did a painting for him, and I want to show you how big they are. So this painting is really big. It's actually a painting on top of a painting. So under this painting is a completely different painting, and it's waves. It's the ocean actually, and it wasn't turning out the way I thought I wanted it to look. So I just painted over top of it. There's a sealer you can use. It's called gesso, and it kind of seals everything. It whites everything out, and it's like a brand new start. So that's what's there. This shows you layers of paint underneath. And then I use this medium called, hold on, let me show you. It's called, it is beads. And it's like a white, kind of comes out like this. But maybe you can see that there's really tiny little beads in that, and it makes it really sparkly, and you can just leave them sparkly or paint over top of them. Next slide. Or sometimes I use very thin layers, and this one just kind of shows that you can still see the fabric from my canvas. Next slide. Some sparkles, and you can kind of see how the beads look like sand pasted on, but you can probably make this. There's got some over there. So you can buy just what all this is sitting in. It's like it's called modeling. Yeah, it's like a modeling agent, but it's thin and it dries and it's white, and you can kind of put whatever you want in it. You can put sand in it, or you can cut things out and put some, and then pictures, and then put it over top. And it's really, paint is so forgiving, and mediums are so forgiving. I just love it because there's really no real rules. And this is the finished painting for Todd. Okay, so let's see how everybody's doing.
Oh,
Okay, we're getting to be almost done our day with you, and come on over, right?
Oh, well, I just came back and just touched up my sun and moon. And hi, sun and moon. I'm going to use these musical note stencils, and maybe I'll just show everybody what I used. These are the
I know I had the same problem.
These are the wave stencils. Waves. And this is the compass stencil I used.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I did.
I'm not done yet. You not ready yet?
I like Molly's.
Okay, can we quickly go to albums? Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you quickly before we go about what you can do with your artwork. Being an artist is a job, and for me, I create these album covers, and this image is actually, it's around the world, this particular album cover. The next one, the next one, please. Embers is a song that is being played around the world. It's on music charts in Australia, UK, the US, and this image, so this painting is seen by people around the world, and that's kind of cool, because earlier we saw it lying on the ground. Next slide. This is I just wanted to show that how I layer things, photographs, and change the colors, manipulate the covers, and that is how that one will end up just being a photograph. But it kind of looks like a painting. Anyways, that's pretty much everything Molly wants to show us what she's done. And that's you?
We're meant to.
Oh, like it's a reflection?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And this is cool. She's showed us how she used the tape and some drips. Not sure if you can see all that.
Molly,
Some
so
great
good.
techniques.
How come Molly's so good? I know why.
Okay.
Cause you're mom.
Well, thanks so much. That's everything we have for you.
Hi, Jill. That was fascinating. What I love about your presentation and your style of art is, well, a couple of things. You actually, you're not only creating the art for the sake of creating art, but you're actually having a practical application with the album covers that you're making. And a lot of us don't think of that. We think of making a painting so it'll hang on the wall, but this is another way that art can actually be used, is used for album covers, book covers, murals, etc. So it's interesting to see that. There was a lot of chatter that was going on during your presentation. A few questions, though, to ask you.
Okay.
So when a number of your paintings that you showed, actually, they changed quite a bit. So I'm paraphrasing. A lot of the paintings changed as you showed them to us. So when you start, do you know what you're going to end up with, or does it come to you as you go along?
Yeah, sometimes I do know. I can, if someone's asked me to paint them something and that it's called My Art Gets Commissioned, then I need to create something and I have to end up there. But for a lot of my paintings, I have no idea. I am just sitting there and I'm just letting it flow.
And with that, there's also a lot of layering that you do, and that's part of your technique and your style. So again, that's not something that a lot of us think about. Is, again, we paint, we draw, we put it on the paper, we put it on the canvas, but you've got so many different layers. So again, it's kind of the same thing. Is that part of the process that you knew was going to be there, or does that come up as the creative juices are flowing when the canvas is in front of you?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. So sometimes with experience, I've learned how to layer things and to get a certain effect. And other times it's like, ooh, that's kind of cool. And then I recreate that. But no, some of it is just hit or miss, or just give it a try. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and it was interesting for you to share the one painting for your friend where you ended up painting over top of. So it looked like there were wings there. So the other color that was down at the bottom corner, was that part of the original painting, or did you totally start over?
Yeah, it was a complete do-over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the questions that was asked is, where do you get the crackle medium?
Oh, at Michael's, or I don't know if people are close to Curry's. It's an art supply store, but yeah, you can buy it in different qualities. That most people won't buy the great big bucket that I have. They usually come in little, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, is we have people all across the province who are watching this. So not everyone will have access necessarily to Curry's or other specialty stores, but Michael's is in many of the major cities, so that's a good place to go. Is crackle actually paint, or do you paint over it, or do you put it on after the paint's there?
It's a bit of both. So some of them are called a two-step crackle, so you do have to paint over it and then it crackles. But the big bucket of the white stuff, that is, it's just, you put it on and as it dries, it cracks. And some of them, you kind of have to read the label to see if you have to do over top or if you have to, it depends. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And one last question. You talked about playing music. Do you always have music playing in the background, or is that an occasional?
It's always do,
It's
whether
always
it's Ryan and I are writing music together, or whether I'm listening to like my church music really loud, or even rock and roll. It's always in the background, always. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I want to point out, there's been a number of comments about Molly's painting, how beautiful it is. So it looks like she's left the room, but make sure that she is aware of that. So the process for this, so thank you, Jill. So the process for these workshops is, this was the opportunity for for us to bring in an artist and to share her story, to share what motivates her, her passions, her creative juices, as I mentioned, and to see how she goes through the process of creating. What's interesting about Jill's work is she said she's not a good drawer. So many of us think that if you're going to be an artist, you have to be good at drawing, and that's not necessarily the case. Jill is able to take her talents and her skills and combine different elements together to create beautiful pieces of work that are used, in people's homes, but also commercially in hospitals and healthcare facilities as well. So she's able to take that passion and apply it onto the canvas. So what we're asking you to do is think about Jill's process. Think about the different tools that she used and the different techniques that she used, and maybe use that as your inspiration as you come up with your own piece of art. And when you're done with that, whether it's on paper, whether it's on canvas, whether it's on wood, and whether you use crayons, paints, or felt markers, doesn't really matter. Take a photograph of it and send it into the Performing Arts Centre in St. Catharines, and it will be added to a virtual gallery that will be made available online. So I want to thank Jill Lunn. I kind of dismissed her a little quick there, but I want to thank Jill Lunn and her family, Ryan and Molly, for sharing their art, their passion, and again, the family dynamics of that is fantastic. I want to thank the First Ontario Performing Arts Centre for giving Indigenous artists a voice and giving us the opportunity to share what motivates us, what inspires us, where our passions are, and how that comes to be as part of who we are as Indigenous people. One of the paintings that Jill showed was her red dress, and that's an important image within the Indigenous community. And so I was excited to see that that's part of the collection that she shared with us. And if you're not familiar with the Red Dress Project, maybe take a look or get your teachers to take a look for that online and learn what that actually means. So with that, we do have other workshops that are available. So go to the First Ontario Performing Arts Centre website to get more information about the other artists that will be on. Clayton Samuel King is one, and I'm one as well. And some of my paintings, which you notice is hanging crooked in the background, will be also available in other workshops. So take this time to think about what you learned from Jill, but now is the time to move forward and create your piece of art. So do it after we sign off. And so with that, again, have a great day. Kawa Pimitin. We'll see you again. Thank you.